So I'm out here today and it seems like it's gonna be raining or something,
Oh,
you know?
come on.
But I thought I'll just use today to go through some ways in which you can start your practice on the Olympic rings specifically, because I've been getting a lot of questions, you know, not only recently but over the years of how best to start your training on the Olympic rings. So I'll go through 2 or 3 of the exercises I think, or two or three of the variations of the exercises on the rings I think will be useful if you're trying to get into that practice, you know. It is one of the best things you can do where calisthenics is concerned, I feel, just because of the instability of the rings themselves. So I'll go over some of that stuff today, and hopefully everybody will find it a little bit useful, at least, you know, in their day-to-day training practice. So I'm gonna do that for you guys and let me know you like it.
You have now entered the 6 a.m. workout.
Wake up, it's time for your workout. Yeah, man, I know, it's 6 a.m., but you gotta do what you gotta do. 6 a.m. workouts.
I actually just woke up. What's up, everyone? So for today's vlog, I figured I'd, you know, do like a question and answer type scenario where we're looking at just some overall questions people usually have when they're beginning their journey into training on the Olympic rings. And one of the first things that people usually wonder is like, where do you actually start, you know? Because it can be a little bit intimidating when you see people going into the iron cross or a muscle up or more advanced inversions, you know, going upside down and that kind of stuff. So some questions usually surround where do you start, you know. And I feel if I were to be asked this question, the best way I feel to start is, first of all, lowering the rings, you know, bringing them a little bit closer to the floor. That takes away the intimidation factor, because the rings, as I said, it can, you know, get a little bit intimidating at times. It can seem a little bit advanced, but if you just bring it to the floor, that takes away that factor, and then you can start working on the subtle techniques that translates all the way through your practice on the rings. So one of the first things I like athletes to do whenever they're training the rings is to get into static holds. And the first static hold that I want to show you today is the planche, or a plank, but a plank with a slight lean, because a regular plank on the rings really doesn't demand that you be engaged right throughout the body, throughout the core. Sometimes it can be a little bit more relaxed. So pretty much the variation of the planche we'll look at today is stepping back just as you would for a push-up, and now all you're gonna do is bring those shoulders in front of the rings a little bit, and right away I can feel everything starting to shake a little bit, like it's a little bit more demanding, and I want to just externally rotate. So I'm gonna bring those elbows in to the body, so the elbow pits of my arms, they face forward. Once I'm in this position, I squeeze my glutes, engage the core, I'm locked in, and I can do this for 5, 10, 15 seconds, however long it takes for me to really feel like, okay, I'm getting a challenge here. I want to be squeezing the rings inwards, as I said, so my pectorals, my anterior delts, that's that front part of the shoulder, all that stuff is getting engaged. So once you've gotten a decent amount of work there, you can take a little break. You can do several sets of this until fatigue starts to build up. Once you're getting comfortable in that kind of, I call it a pressing variation on the ring, then we can start looking at going into like push-ups. Because one of the things you'll find is that when the folks first start training rings and they go into push-ups, the quality is usually played down, and it's more about the quantity. People are seeing how many ring push-ups they can do rather than seeing how well they can do each repetition, which really should be the first goal when you're starting to train the ring position. The way I like setting up the push-ups on the rings is to start in a pronated grip position. So that means the knuckles will face away from the body as I slowly bend at the elbows, feet together, just like we did in that planche or that plank position. I just start bending at the elbows, keeping the rings as static and steady as possible. Go to the bottom of the movement, hold that position, and then push back up. Eventually, we're gonna start doing that corkscrew action or that external rotation of the shoulders that we did with the planche. So eventually, as we go down, as we come back up, we do that. So the elbow pits start facing forward again. And that's how we're gonna start slowly advancing into higher levels of the push. Variations on the rings, things like the dips, things like the knee tucks. So if I were to be asked, how do you feel is the best way to get started training on the rings? That would be my best suggestion where pushing is concerned. As to where pulling is concerned, now I'll start looking into things like standing rows. So we can keep the rings at that same height, same level, stepping back a little bit. I think actually I need to adjust the rings just so you're able to see in the view to get that done. Yes, so now let's look at the pull variation that I'd suggest you start to train whenever working with the Olympic rings. We're gonna take both rings, step to the back of the rings just like so. We can keep that the same height that we had them earlier, right? We wanna step under. The further under I step, the harder it will be. So in the beginning, just holding in a pronated fashion, again, knuckles facing away or facing upwards in this case, squeezing the glutes, trying to keep a nice straight level the body, and I can roll towards myself. So I pull the rings in and pull my body in towards the rings. Starting in this fashion is going to get me a little bit more comfortable with the feel of the ring in the palms, which is a big deal when you start going upside down, especially. If you want a little bit more tension, a little bit more attention to what it will feel like, and attention to the details of what it will really feel like when we start doing inverted tuck rows and that kind of stuff, then a good thing to do is just start coming down a little bit further underneath the ring, extending the legs further forward, and then doing the rows from there. Now we can feel a little bit more tension as we do our rows. So, simple adjustments or simple movement patterns using the rings at a lower level can really start getting you into the groove of training on the Olympic rings. Hopefully that's something that will help you as you're moving forward in your practice. I'll keep putting out more videos, more content on the rings and the kettlebells as we usually do. You know, and hopefully you'll find some of this useful in your day-to-day activities as you go about your practice. Thanks again for watching. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, share with a friend or friends, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.